Do you want to talk about style? Do you want to talk about the aerodynamic ultimate? Well, look at here. This is a 2025 Elantra from Hyundai. And it's not just an ordinary Elantra, it's an Elantra Hybrid. So you get all that aerodynamics and you get all that hybrid drivetrain technology. What does this leave us with? Well, I'll tell you, an outstanding compact, because it gets on average over 50 miles per gallon and speeds you on your way in a decent amount of comfort. And it even has a roomy trunk. Shall we go for a ride? Well, how can we not? This is a car I've been looking real forward to because I like cars that are incredibly economical, environmentally friendly, and are just, generally speaking, a pleasure to drive, because that's what we need nowadays. And even better, this particular car before you is the limited version, which is the top of the line pretty much in the trim department, and it has a suggested retail price of $31,000. That's pretty great. A car with a 107-inch wheelbase, about a 3,000-pound curb weight, and a little 1.6 gasoline engine, 1.6 liters, supplemented by an electric motor. So we've seen a lot of these things popping up from everybody from Toyota, of course, with the Corolla, to Honda, and who else? Who else makes a little compact sedan? None of the American manufacturers do. They've kind of given up on it. But Hyundai, Toyota, Honda, they still are at it. And that's a beautiful thing, because for a lot of people, a compact sedan is a really, really good choice. This one is front-wheel drive only. That's okay. It's, like I said before, it's only 3,000 pounds. So if you get stuck in the snow, what do? You just get out and push, get it out. More than anything else, though, you won't be spending a hell of a lot of time at the gas pump, because it is a very, very frugal machine. And it's also a really interesting one, because Hyundai, when they started out in the hybrid business, they weren't all that impressive in my opinion. But over time, they've gotten better and better and better and better. And nobody can take the upper hand in terms of style, in my opinion, because they are beautiful cars. So let's start out, as we always do, by taking a look under the bonnet and finding out what kind of power plant we have at work here. Behold, if you will, underneath this unusually heavy hood. I think that may be due to the insulating material you see there that's there to keep things quiet. But here is our very economical power plant for our Elantra. This is a 1.6 liter Atkinson cycle. Look it up if you don't know about Atkinson cycle, but it's basically a very, very efficient type of inline four-cylinder. It is, of course, mounted transversely. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where our spark plugs are right there. That's where our cylinders are right there. And no turbocharger. This is just a standard. You look back here where they would put a turbocharger on most cars, and there ain't no turbo there, so it's much, much, much simpler. It's a very straightforward layout too. What you have is you have your air intake down here, comes along here, and underneath this huge panel is a big old air filter. We love our clean air. I mean, that's it. Engines love it, people love it, everybody loves clean air. It then goes through the system right in here and goes all the way around somehow. I think it goes right into the middle, to tell you the truth. More than likely, I have to look it up and check, but I do believe this is a gasoline direct injection engine. I don't think there's a port injection component to it, but I'll check. Maybe I'm wrong. But to the best of my knowledge, it is a gasoline direct injector. They're real big at Hyundai with that. So It uses, incidentally, 0 W20 oil, which is a very, very common oil. And surprisingly, in a way, because a lot of hybrids, let's say Toyota, has gone a long time ago, went over to 0 W16 oil. And now on the Crown, I know it's 0 W8. So, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with those thinner oils, as long as you change them in a timely manner. A timely manner means every 5,000, I would say. I wouldn't go 10,000 unless the car just, literally you pull out of your parking lot and drive 40 miles an hour during a straight road, maybe stop at one stopping light, go to work and come back. I mean, the definition for severe service is basically normal driving, in my opinion, from all the manufacturers. But there you go. Over here on the left side here, first of all, the exhaust is out there, and the fuel injection, I think, mainly is in the middle here. Here's your serpentine belts, by the way, powering your various accessories. Here's the coolant that goes into the engine proper, and here is the coolant over here that goes into the electrical system for the electric engine, i.e. motor, that supplements the power on this particular beastie. Now, there's a number of really interesting things about how Hyundai does their hybrids. One of my favorites is they use a regular type of transmission as opposed to the CVTs that are used on most hybrids out there. Excuse me. So we have the transverse mounted engine, then we have the transmission down in here, and somewhere in between that transmission and the engine, I think, or maybe at the end of the transmission, is our electric motor that helps, we'll get to the numbers in just a minute. But it's very straightforward. There's a bug on there. I'm sorry, go away, bug. You do not belong in the electrics. Avoid the bugs in the electrics, if you will. So, talk about straightforward, though. There's our little reservoir right there, and there's the plumbing right there to cool off this CPU or whatever it is, and ultimately the electric motor components that need to be cooled down. So all that together works in concert with this little 1.6 liter Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder engine, and the engine puts out 104 horsepower at 5,700 RPM, 5,700, and then the torque is 109 at 4,000 RPM. And then you throw in the electric motor, which puts out 43 horsepower and 125 pounds of feet in the torque department, and your total output is 139 horsepower and 195 foot-pounds of torque. So it's a very light car at 3,000 pounds, and this is adequate to get it around just fine. What you get in return is outstanding fuel economy. Like I said, the EPA average on this thing is 50 miles per gallon. Whoa, that's combined, that's highway and city. So beautiful, eh? That's excellent. I much prefer it personally to full electrics, because this has a ridiculous amount of range. I think it's like about 500 miles, something like that, maybe more. It has a 12.3 gallon gas tank, so very, very efficient. And it seems to drive very smoothly. And like I said, we're dealing with a completely different type of transmission compared with the master of hybrids, which is Toyota, which still goes with a continuously variable transmission. What else can we see up front? We can see over here is our battery access. I don't think that's the actual battery. I think the actual battery is probably in the trunk. We'll look for that. But again, this whole area right here is taken up with all your electronic bits for your electric motor. And this is where your conventional side right here with your gas engine. Very straightforward. I showed you where the belt is. And we do have the famous Hyundai superstructure, which is designed to quell vibration out of this 4-cylinder inline. Because these things, let's face it, they can be buzzy. I've driven a few lately of the latest versions of inline 4-cylinders from various manufacturers, and a lot of them are pretty buzzy. I'm just telling you. But Hyundai has worked very, very hard to quell that vibration completely using extremely interesting engine mounts. And that's one of them right there that you have just observed. I admire you in your ability to observe. But otherwise, pretty straightforward, and it shouldn't be, I think, any kind of a servicing problem whatsoever, especially since, and you don't have all that complexity that would add to it if it was turbocharged, since this is a normally aspirated engine. So there you go, 6-speed automatic and a beautiful little hybrid power plant powering only the front wheels. Let us examine the world of Kinergy. This is a genuine Kinergy type of 225 45 R17 all-season tire, and it's made, of course, if you look all the way down here, it's a Hankook Kinergy GT, and it's a nice tire. It's a pretty good sized tire for a little bitty car like this. But here is our brake rotor and our brake caliper. And of course this vehicle does have regenerative braking, which of course has nothing to do with the mechanical braking system. It's all about the electric motor swapping over and becoming a generator, and the drag of said motor slowing the car and helping with the braking chores. And that's a great thing because it puts more juice back in your battery, but at the same time it also helps slow the car without any wear on your brake pads, you see. So you want that, that's a good thing. Now, as mentioned before, we have a 107-inch wheelbase, which is a nice healthy wheelbase for this car. And the whole thing is, for a compact, this thing has got like a lot of room from front to back. It's a big car compared to some other compacts, in my opinion. They're probably all about the same size, but the fact is, styling has a lot to do with how the car appears in terms of how big it is. And once you walk up to it, start interacting with it, you'll find that it's a compact, but it's bigger than a regular compact. I'll put it that way. You might be able to tell there the size of the rear door is generous, so that makes it a lot easier for people to get in and out of. And then we'll come around to the back here. Look at how easy it is to open the trunk. There's this little button right there. Whee! Now the trunk is fascinating because it has 14.2 cubic feet of space in it, which is the same as the regular Elantra. It's a miracle of packaging, because what they've done with the hybrid battery is the hybrid battery, which is a lithium-ion battery, is located underneath the rear seat. And by the way, you're going, Boots, you promised us, you said that the battery, 12-volt battery, is in the trunk. Well, it's not. It's actually, according to Hyundai, they use the words, it is integrated within the high voltage battery. So your 12-volt battery is actually packaged down there under the seat with the lithium-ion battery. And then you may have noticed when we were looking at the engine compartment, you do have access to plus and minus poles for your jump start situations and that kind of thing. So interesting. If you have to change a 12-volt battery, it's I think you take it to your dealer, basically. We have the 60/40. And you pull here, and that releases your 60/40s in your fold down and increase this already generous trunk. Now what's underneath here? Is this our temporary spare? No, although I'd swear there's plenty of room, wouldn't you, for a temporary spare back here. But this car has your basic motility kit that you put the goo in the tire, and then you fire up this little cute little air compressor, and you put air and goo in the tire, and supposedly you'll go on your way. I much prefer having a temporary spare, because if there's a big enough gash in your tire, this is not going to help you. So then you have to call the auto club and wait, and depending on where you live, wait an interminable length of time in order to get to it. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But that's underneath there. The finish is not luxury car finish, but it's standard economy car finish in the trunk. But still, you have 14.2 generous cubic feet of space back here, and plenty of room for several suitcases. So top marks on the trunk department. And more than anything else, this is a car with a lot of utility, because you can actually take long trips. I mean long trips with. Provided people have good bladders, you can just go and go and go and go and go with the range this car has, and carry a lot of cargo with you, carry a lot of suitcases and things for that getaway. How does it do in the snow? I don't know. But I think if you actually bother, and considering the price of admission, you should be able to afford it. Get some snow tires that you put on seasonally, and I bet this car probably does pretty decent on plowed roads, I would think. I'm guessing, but that would be my belief, just based on everything else about the car. So there we have our exterior, and it is a beautiful exterior. And now, let's see what we get if you pop for the limited version, like this one is right here. Ah, nature is pleased because we're in a hybrid that gets 50 miles per gallon. And that's a good thing. And it's not only a real champ when it comes to delivering good fuel economy, this is a real nice car. Our Elantra Limited has what is pretty much becoming the thing, the standard now. In terms of instrument clusters, is there's no separate instruments, no mechanical analog instruments anymore. It's all flat screen that simulates mechanical analog. Or you can always do things like I can press the setup button down here, and I can go to screen layout, display button, vehicle, and then I can go to cluster and cluster theme selection. And there's two ways of doing this. There's the classic theme, which we can link to drive mode. We'll look at that first. Tachometer display. Oh, wow. Selects the drive modes in which the tachometer is displayed. Sport, smart. I want it everywhere. There we go. I want the tachometer there all the time. I didn't know you could do that. That's pretty great. So right now, in a minute, we will have a tachometer displayed, I assume, over here. It's busy telling me that the vehicle's going to be turned off in a while, and I don't know why. Maybe I'll put it in gear. That changes its mind. And there's our tachometer, a tachometer. Oh, I love it. I just love it. But anyway, if we go back to the theme selection, we can link it to drive mode. And if we do that, icy road. Oh, wow. There we go. First of all, let me show you Cube, since it doesn't appear to want to deal with my other themes at the moment. But if we put it on Cube, look at there. We have these wild cubes. And look, and when I do my tachometer, this cube becomes active. Look at there. Isn't that something? Some will find this pleasing, others will find it vexing. But it's okay, because you don't have to use it if you don't want to. But then we can go to classic themes. And cluster theme will change depending on what we're actually doing in terms of our drive mode. So right now, if we go to sport mode right there, red, it's always red. Sport mode in anything turns red. Everything, red, 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 red. Smart is kind of a easy to read, black on white instrumentation. Well, that's just smart. That's all there is to it. And then we have Eco, which has kind of a green tint to it. So I'll go ahead and link it to the drive mode. And I used Cube for a while, and it just didn't work for me. I'm sorry. It just didn't. So now we'll go back to setup. Just put that there. Now, what else do we have in our cluster? We have a very nice central computer here that can do, oops, that was my fault. Over here. Here we go. There we go. Current trip is 0. We are not moving. Then we have a digital speedometer choice. And then we have, this is a real nice fun little display that will tell you what's going on in terms of whether or not you're using the gas engine or the electric motor or both. Or in the case right now, neither. Nothing. But you have a little over half of your battery has been charged and is ready to go. And it's also in the bottom of the tachometer. There's a little indicator of that. So that's pretty cool. And that's it for that. Our current trip, and then our sense refueling. Oh, wow, I did not know. I was not aware I had that setting, actually. I thought I'd reset this manually. But anyway, we've gone 271.8 miles, and it's averaging 51.3 if they're telling us the truth. We are, of course, going to do the ultimate test and fill her up and see how many miles we went and that kind of thing to find out the exact mileage. But I've noticed a lot of these things are getting a lot more accurate than they used to be. So I feel very comfortable in saying we've been getting at least 50 miles per gallon, which is great. So that's the main part of our instrument cluster. And how are the instruments themselves? How are the controls? Well, we have a heavily burdened steering wheel. It's not as bad as most, actually. But here's where we activate talking to the car. This mode here is not drive mode. This is our radio mode, or whatever. In this case, we're not listening to the radio. We're listening to sounds of nature, which is an onboard system that you don't have to do anything with. You don't have to. I don't think you have to get any kind of a internet signal or anything like that. I think it's just literally on a hard drive somewhere, and you have all these wonderful choices, which I'll go over in a moment. But anyway, volume, channel selection, telephone, hello, and then the star setting. You can pretty much you can do different things to set up what you want for that. It's like in smart mode. You can tweak it a little bit. Matter of fact, if we climate seat, eco vehicle, what's that? Coasting guide. This I'm gonna deviate from this for just a second, because that's something I keep discovering things, which is fun. We have a coasting guide, and it's sound on and sound off. Activating the coasting guide helps users save fuel. It displays the word coast to recommend when to release the accelerator. I don't think that's going to be very popular. I'm just saying. I don't think people really want that. What do we have in terms of driver assistance? We have driving convenience, driving safety, driver attention warning. Oh, we need to go here because warning method, driver attention for the only thing you seem to be able to pick is whether or not it will tell you when you're sitting at a traffic light and the car in front of you has left. It'll tell you, hey, wake up, it's time to go. That you can turn on and off, but otherwise I don't believe. There's all these other things. Lane safety, I turn that off. Blind spot safety is on. Exit safety is on. That can be very, very valuable. Exit safety, incidentally, is becoming more and more common, and that's to tell you that if you're starting to open the door and a car is about to come smash into you, if you suddenly open your door out into traffic or whatever, it warns you about that. And that is a very, very good safety feature that is becoming more and more common all the time. But anyway, this thing is constantly reminding me that I personally need to take a break from time to time. It tells you, I suggest taking a break, and it's primarily based, as far as I know, on the fact that I move my head. I can't see where the camera is that's actually looking at that, because usually we get like 2 flashing red lights where the camera is when you're looking at it on a video camera like this GoPro here. But I don't see anything anywhere. So, but it's definitely watching me. It's watching. They're all watching. Maybe it's in here. Are you in here? It's a strange looking item that I have no idea what that does. But anyway, just wanted to go over there for a minute and touch base with that. But anyway, on our right side of our steering is our cruise control area, and it's also where we get different bits of information here. And you can see, you can scroll across, there's a compass, engine temperature. This is your roadside assistant, not roadside assistant. God, what am I saying? This is part of your adaptive cruise control to tell you what's going on, the separation you have from the vehicle in front of you that you have set, and whether or not there's a vehicle in front of you, that sort of thing. Then we have our all our trip information, which is my personal favorite, and that's it. That's basically what we have. Now, if you go over, for example, to engine temperature and then toggle up and down, you can get tire pressure. That's it. I thought there was more. I thought there'd be oil pressure or something like that, but apparently not. It does not require that. We're going to leave her there because I'm always looking for the trip odometers on these cars, and that's the closest thing we have one-to-one. I don't really think since reset. Okay, there we go. Reset is what I did. That's 255, and since refueling is 271. So that's the difference, 271 and 255, between when I actually got the car and when it was refueled. So it's always nice to have that sense refueling setting if you're a person who likes to keep real good tabs on what your gas mileage is. And everybody should. You should just be aware, because it can tell you if your gas mileage suddenly deteriorates drastically, you may have a problem, and it'll give you early warning about that. So anyway, all the way on the left hand side we have a 12-volt battery. I think that is actually a fuse type arrangement right there that it says reset on it. So if you somehow plug in a 12-volt accessory and it pulls too much amperage and trips something, you can reset it there. This is how you turn off your cruise control, and this is your rheostat for your dashboard lighting, also known as your instrument cluster. And back over to our cruise control, since we're just jumping all over the damn place. Here's where we can activate our lane keeping, or also known as lane tracing. You can turn that on and off depending on if you want to use it. Here we have modes of smart cruise control. Is basically adaptive cruise control. This is your separation distance, which you can adjust, and this right here is adding or subtracting speed once you're locked in on a particular setting for your cruise control. And it can also serves, this button also serves as a cancel and as a renew when you want to reactivate the setting you had before after stopping at a light or something like that. You can just hit that and it'll go back to where you were. So all very straightforward. You're familiar with most of this stuff. All the lighting and everything is right over here. Very, very easy to manage. Very logical. And the windshield wiper is right here where it should be, on the right hand stalk, and very, very straightforward. Nothing bizarre about it. So that's always nice. Let's look at the map, shall we? Now we have a map, and I have been primarily using Apple CarPlay, which on this particular Elantra Limited 2025 model is not wireless. The Android Auto and Apple CarPlay you have to plug in, which I have been doing, and it takes. This was an interesting thing for me to learn. When I went from down here, we have a USB-C and a USB-A. When I use the USB-C to USB-C on my, or to Lightning, if you have an Apple phone, in order to access CarPlay, it wouldn't work. However, when I use the USB-A port and a Lightning connector, that did work, and it works fine. So, go figure. Again, it's a little surprising that it's not wireless, but you do have wireless Bluetooth if you want to stream your tunes and that kind of thing. So, we have our map here, which is a very easy to access situation. It's not huge, but it's an okay size in my opinion. And here we have this is, as far as navigation goes, these are all navigation settings you can use to search, find someplace, find a nearby point of interest, get traffic information, all kinds of good stuff. So the navigation system is a good one. And if you hit this here, there's our full screen. Now it's funny because there's certain situations, like I believe when you're using CarPlay, you can't get the widescreen full screen of the map. I don't know why that is, but it seems to be that way anyway. But it's a very typical modern map system in terms of it's not 3D, I don't believe, at least. Well, can we zoom in and out by pinching? Yes, we can. Look, let's go up into space. Let's go way high, way high. Come on now, come on now. And here we go. This is what I really like. There we are. So we know approximately where we are. If we are in a geostationary satellite looking down, we can see. There's Bahamas. I'd like to be there right now. So good navigation system, very straightforward, very easy to use. We migrate down and we have some actual switches and buttons. Here's for your audio system in terms of on, off, mute, which is the same thing as on, off these days, pretty much. And volume control is there, but you also have volume control over here. So you can use either hand to adjust the volume on your stereo. and all these different things here. You have Seeks, you have track. I always love track because it implies you have some kind of a CD player or something like that, but you don't. But that's the track that you might be listening to, depending on what format of audio you're listening to. If you're listening to satellite, for example, I think that interfaces directly with that, so you can select the next track from that station. Or I don't know, I haven't played with that much, obviously. But then we have another star. If I press this star, what happens? What happens? What happens? These are all the settings that you can put on here. You can put the map. So that star setting, which is right there, if I put map on there like that, and then I hit the star setting, what happens? Nothing happens. But this, I just did this, see? There we go. There we are. See, it goes straight to the map when I use the star. That's how you adjust that. You can use the star to be a bunch of different things depending on what you'd like it to be, which is nice. That kind of customization, I think, is great on the modern automobile. Below that, we have our climate control system. Again, very straightforward. It's very easy to get comfortable with fast. You have also both seat cooling and seat heating, you see, which is great. That's becoming more and more commonplace, especially when you get into the higher trim levels. But even on a ostensibly an economy car like this Elantra, you get it now when you get the limited trim range, which is the top of the line, full marks. Now again, I've shown you the USB-A and the USB-Cs. Here is our QI wireless charger pad for your cell phone, and I have discovered that it works fine with my Apple smartphone with a case on it. It just plop it right in, it works great. So that's good to see. That's becoming more and more commonplace. For a long time, if you had any kind of a case on your phone, these things wouldn't work very well in terms of charging, but that has changed, and now they work pretty damn good. So now that we come to our shifter area, this is a very conventional shifter. And if you want to go to manual mode, bang, right there. And it's nice to have a nice conventional shifter. You don't have paddle shifters, and you don't have paddle regenerative braking. Well, there's just no paddle. It's paddleless, paddle free. But you know, that's not all that surprising, given the fact that this is kind of an entry-level car. But you still have those manual settings, and you still, as I've mentioned before, you have a conventional transmission as opposed to a continuously variable, which you usually get with your hybrids. Drive modes, you've seen that. That's what I selected. Here's our cameras. I press the camera button, and what we have is a back camera. But do we have side cameras? There's back. What we have is two different. There's a close-up. Almost looks like a trailer hitch type of thing, so you can look down. But they recommend not towing a trailer with this vehicle. So, you know, go figure that. What's this? Extended rear view monitor, extended view parking lines. So in other words, you have a little bit of adjustability to that rear camera, which will help you when you're determined to back into something. You'll have a problem with this car and a lot of cars, because this car also has cross traffic and backup warning, provided that it's switched on. And it is in this car. If you're backing up and about to hit something, it'll hit the brakes and stop. And that's a very useful feature too. I must admit, I do like that quite a bit. And it's becoming very, very commonplace. Even on some of the lower trim levels, you can get it. So Hyundai's big on it. They've liked it for quite some time. Parking brake, auto hold, which will keep you steady on your heels and that kind of thing, I think. Auto hold can mean so many different things these days. You just kind of have to pick what you want it to believe, to represent for you in your head, and just leave it there, because this is not set at the moment. If I put auto hold, I think what happens if I just hold up the brake and auto hold is on, I think, first of all, I'll put it into gear and it automatically takes off the parking brake. What happens if I put it in the park? Nothing. It doesn't automatically put it in the park. You got to do that manually. And by the way, folks, I see so many people, and have seen this my entire life, so many people don't use the park brake. Use the park brake. There's two reasons why you really should. First of all, it keeps the brake in good shape if you ever need to use it in an emergency situation, like you have a brake failure and you need to use it to pull over and stop. But it's also really good at taking a lot of the weight on the brakes instead of on the parking pole that is part of your automatic transmission. Or if you have if you have a manual transmission and your compression is complete crap on your old truck, you put it into gear and then get out of it, and you're on a hill and you get out. I used to have a truck I drove back when I was working for an automotive finish company in Texas, and you'd park it on a slight hill, and then you'd go in and the park brake didn't work on it, and the boss wouldn't get it fixed. So you'd put it in the reverse or some gear that you'll hope will keep it in position, but the compression on the engine was so bad, it would usually roll back about 2 car lengths by the time you got back out to it. So anyway, just use your park brake. You're just better off if you do. And almost everybody has a situation set now with the electronic parking brakes where it does release itself when you put it in the drive. Not all of them, but it's becoming more and more commonplace. So okay, that's all that. Here's your cup holders, very convenient. Here is your console, which I have some things in there. It's fairly deep, but not that broad, but it's good for a lot of small items. Our glove box is fairly generous. Can't quite get one of your bigger tablets in there, but smaller tablet will fit just fine. It's a good size. And you have a decent amount of door storage, as you can see down there. There's a couple of places to put a drink, and which we love that. We also have this grip for your passenger should you get aggressive in your driving technique, and they can grab hold of something and cry for dear life, but it gives them a little more confidence that they may survive the situation. And look at this print right here, Elantra. That's kind of neat. But here is our seat. And what is this material we have here? Do we have leather? Do we have, oh, let me do this. I forgot I got my new clipboard and I can see through it. Let's see here. Interior code, sage gray and sage gray. Okay, it's sage gray twice. And for your interior, we have comfort and convenience, 60/40 folding rear backs. Yeah, we know about that. I believe this is leather. Here we go. Oh wait, no, I tell a lie. H-Tex trimmed seats with heated front seats, heated and cooled front seats. So it's H-Tex, so it's a synthetic. But you'd swear it was leather just by the way it feels. But again, these new synthetics are terrific. They seem to wear really, really well, and they also offer a little bit of a degree of waterproofness, although don't just pour cups of water in this thing, because it does have the heated elements and the cooling stuff in there, and you could mess something up if you get too much water on there. So be prudent in your water use. But pretty decent side bolsters. It's a good, comfortable car. I mean, I could see if you are a traveling sales type or something like that, this would be a good choice in terms of long. First of all, it's very, very frugal. It has a very good sized trunk, and it's a very comfortable car. It hums along nicely, as you will see. So we have a very nice moonroof here, which I like, and you open it. Oops, sorry. You open it just like that. Whee! Sounds of real nature. All right, out there. And there we go. And then your shade is a manual unit, which is great because it always works. And it's very easy to access. So there you go. And as is usually the case, although I've occasionally encountered these days a car that didn't have an automatic dimming function in the rear view mirror. I actually had a car, what was it, not too long ago. It had an old conventional style where you flip it up. Nowadays, if you see that flip up thing on most cars that have it, That's to switch to a rear camera because you can't see out of the back of the car because you filled it up with stuff. Usually that is more common with your SUV types. So we've looked at all this stuff, and I have this, what is this spider doing here? I need to take this spider off of here. What's that doing there? I'm gonna put him down there. Shall we go to the rear seat? I think we've covered everything here. Headroom is good, but not super fantastic, but it's good. I mean, you'll be fine. If you're a fairly normal sized human being, you got plenty of leg room, and you got plenty of, and I've got the seat pretty far back, so we'll see how the rear end does. But also, what type of sound system do we have? Oh, I can't remember. What does it say? It sure does. It's Bose. You have a very nice Bose sound system on this car. And it really does sound good, by the way. All right, then. Let's have a look. We have a rear door that is almost 90 degrees and fairly easy access for a larger individual. I think you can get in here without too much trouble, without banging your head. You don't do that. You see, I have the front seat fairly far back, and yet there's good leg room. And this is a compact. I love it when they accomplish this. Oh man, and as usual, why do I always get these cars that these people have hit the lock on? Why do they do that? There we go. So the window goes down about, I'd say roughly 92%. Not 100%, but that's okay. We can tolerate that. Now what's really interesting about back here is the darkness. We don't even, there's a dome light way up here, but we don't have any map lights. And this is the limited version, and I find that a little bit surprising because when you think about it, it's very easy to put lights anywhere now thanks to the miracle of LEDs. But they have opted not to do that, so you will not have an overhead reading light. You'll have to bring your own, I guess, if you're going to read back here. We have no storage right here. There's not one of these, this net thing, and this thing is so tight. I think you can maybe get a magazine in there, but you might suffer trying to put a tablet computer back there because there's just not a whole lot of room. We have a very modest drive shaft tunnel, and we have two USB 2s there. And what else? What else? We have that very excellent H-Tex upholstery, which I really like. I'm amazed at how good that stuff is. And our armrest is very nice. It's at a good height, and you got a fair amount of room here. But the biggest thing here is you have plenty of room for an adult, and you could get three back here if you had to. They have to like each other, but it's possible. But it's really good for two people. Not a problem at all. And like I said before, you do have a very generous trunk, so not a bad trip car at all. And then again, there's that wonderful gas mileage. Boy, I tell you. And unlike an electric, you got some ridiculous, like 500 miles you can get in this, and then it'll take you about 2 minutes to refuel, and off you go again for another 500 miles. So, as a traveling salesperson's vehicle, not bad. You could do a lot worse, especially at the $31,000 price point. Thank you, Hyundai. So we're in a storm here, or about to be. Holy cow. I'm afeared of it. So since I have my classic motif set up in my instrument cluster, this car feels a lot like a smaller version of a Genesis that I drove not too long ago. And of course, Genesis is part of the Hyundai family. But I think you get an awful lot for your Hyundai dollar, in my opinion. And something else that's amazing about this particular hybrid is it doesn't have a whole lot of horsepower. What's our overall? I believe it's 195. But being a fairly light car at 3,000 pounds or so, is that right? God, do I know anything about this car? I'm driving it. What do I know about it? Curb. Where's curb? There. No. Yep. No. I don't have the curb here. Yes. Approximately 3,000 pounds. And we are now steering. Or it is. I always say that we're steering, but it's kind of just the car that's doing all the work. But it's one of the things I've noticed about this car is it's very, very comfortable on the highway. There is a bit of wind noise, and when I compare these things, I don't have like there's a whole lot of different things that on the day will make your car louder or quieter. And one of them is the speed and duration of the wind. Or I should say the velocity of the wind and what direction you're going through it. And it can add to your overall ambient noise situation. But I can just tell you something's considerably more or less quiet than what I would consider to be the average these days. For the most part, cars are so much quieter than they used to be. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Two of which are aerodynamic. Well, this doesn't apply to SUVs and trucks for the most part, because some of them are the most unaerodynamic things on the road. There are exceptions, thank God. And most Hyundais are very aerodynamic. But if you have something that is not, it's not like you hear a lot of whistling of the noise or something like that. It's just the general level is higher. And but for the most part, there's the aerodynamics, and then there's a lot of cars these days are using a type of glass that is much quieter than the glass we used before, because it actually has an insulating layer in it. You can't see it, of course. You see right through it. But it really makes a difference on a lot of cars. But that's more expensive. And that is usually confined to the more expensive vehicle. So I don't believe we have it on this car, but this car is it's the ambient noise level is fine. Tires don't seem to be making appreciably any noise at all. And the suspension makes a little bit of noise, but overall it rides well. Especially considering the when you get into a compact class, there's a lot of different things that go along with this, but the compact class is usually more affordable, and they're more affordable largely because they use simpler, more, I don't want to say it's less complex necessarily, but just simpler and less expensive suspension components. And so you usually don't have as good a ride with compacts, but they will surprise you. And I always hold Subaru up as an example of, they have some of the, I think, the best tuned suspensions out there, especially in the compact class. They do very, very well. Well, Hyundai does pretty daggum good themselves with these vehicles. This rides well compared to a couple of things I just drove. It's kind of impressive that they can sell this car for $31,000, and it has a hybrid power plant and extremely nice interior provisions and very reasonable performance, and do it at $31,000. That's one of the biggest things about this car that I think makes it desirable. I got me one of them frou-frou drinks. It's even got cream in it. I don't know why I did that. I decided to treat myself for some strange reason. So I'll get this great sugar rush, and I'll start driving a whole lot faster and talking faster, and everything will be just moving along. We're right on the edge of a line of thunderstorms that we are heading pretty much east, and I think the line is going mainly north and south, so we're going to miss most of it, I think. It's creeping over a little bit towards the east, but mainly it's just going from the south to the north. It wants to go up there and wipe out.
Vehicle on shoulder ahead.
Vehicle on shoulder. It wants to get up there and beat up on Massachusetts, which is Connecticut's hat, by the way. And that's where that storm seems to be heading. Up there in Vermont. Aha, still there. Looks like that Jeep is not jeeping anymore. It's in a non-jeeping state. But I hope it's not too dark. Oh, I'm going to turn that self-steering off for you, because it's normally this time of day is very bright. We still are at the edge of summer, and I'm very surprised that it's so dark from this thunderstorm. But then again, I think it's not a small line of thunderstorms. And I will now turn the cruise off, and we'll coast in on this right-hand side here. And off we go. It corners very well. When you hit the bumpy corner situation, though, it tends to be, it's not quite as impressive in that it tends to get knocked around a little bit. The suspension doesn't just totally glue to the pavement the way it would on, say, like a BMW or something like that. But you'll be paying for two of these Elantras for one BMW, so. Man, I've seen all these Saabs out. I used to like Saabs quite a bit, and then they went away. Oh, that's something. Is that a Saab? Yeah, it's a Saab. General Motors took them over, and the next thing you know,
police reported ahead.
I'm there. Whereabouts? Oh, okay, I'm there. I'm prepared. But overall, I like the highway ride on this thing a lot. It's the kind of thing that if you were a person who had to do a lot of highway traveling, if you're in sales or something like that, oh, not there. It would be a real ideal vehicle for a lot of different reasons. First of all, it's comfortable. Secondly, it's got a huge trunk for the size of the car. So you could haul all the stuff you need to haul in it without any great difficulty. And the best thing about it is it's incredibly frugal with a gallon of gas. And a lot of people would say, oh, you get an electric. A lot of people don't have time to look for a place to charge or plan their trip around where chargers are. And instead, if you get something like this, you can get gas anywhere, and you're not going to be stopping very often for gas. And you're going to get, I've already put 86 miles on this tank, and it's telling me I have 409 miles left. So that's impressive right there. These are definitely these.
Watch out, vehicle on shoulder ahead.
These are truly the range master, the hybrid cars. Ain't there. Boy, we're getting a lot of false alarms here. And something else I should notice, the car does have regenerative braking, as far as I know. I mean, I don't know any hybrids that don't. But the brakes are very, very good. They are pretty much seamless in terms of, you would never know that you're using a combination mechanical and regenerative braking system, which of course regenerative brakes, once again, are when your electric motor swaps over and becomes a generator, and the drag from that generator helps to slow the car. And that, with a lot of manufacturers, I always think back to Honda when they started selling hybrid. The first thing they sold that was a hybrid was their integrated motor assist, their IMA, and all that was an electric motor that boosted what the gas engine was doing, but it never ran the car by itself or anything like that. And when they started going to a full hybrid system, whereas the electric motor also powered the car, it took them a long time, in my opinion, to really get the regenerative braking smooth. It was kind of abrupt. And one of the things, when Hyundai first made a hybrid, I remember it wasn't all that refined and impressive initially, but boy, it didn't take them more than a couple of years that they really turned that around. And if you didn't know this car was a hybrid, you wouldn't know this car was a hybrid. Especially given the fact that you do have a transmission that is more of a conventional transmission compared to what most hybrids have, which is a continuously variable style. So, and this has incidentally a manual mode. I think I mentioned this earlier, that you use the shifter to select your gear. So you have all these things that they have made extremely refined, and the only thing about the car that may not suit you is it is a compact, so it doesn't have the massive amounts of room that you can get. There's so many cars. I mean, incidentally, none of them are made in the United States, because the U.S. has quit making cars. They just make SUVs and trucks. But a lot of the sedans that are available, if you get a mid-size sedan, that's what pretty much what a full-size used to be. They've gotten really big, especially the back seat room is amazing. And the back seat room in this is good for a compact, no question about it. Everything's been getting bigger. Everything's been getting bigger. Not necessarily more capable, but just bigger. Wow, underneath here I can see things. Wow, this looks real familiar, this rear suspension. What was the vehicle I had right before this? Well, it wasn't the vehicle that would be, let us say, analogous to this, but a couple of vehicles ago I had a Hyundai SUV, and the rear suspension looks very similar. It's a multi-link affair in that you have your lower cup here. Right there is where your coil spring resides, right in there, and then the outboard is mounted your very substantial looking for a compact car shock absorber. And actually, this is your sub cradle here that is used to mount all these suspension components to the unibody, residing separately right up in there. You see it. All that there is your unibody way up there. Now look at all this other stuff here. This is a real substantial, by the way, cradle that's holding everything together. It's like almost looks like, is that two-piece? Is it a two-piece affair? I'm not sure. But here's our lateral link right there, and here is your front link right here. All these things designed to keep the wheel in proper orientation to the road. As you serpentine along through the curves and over the bumps. This is a bump here, right? This is an irregularity known as a rock. And over here's our other one on the other side, and you can see it much clearer how it's attached to this very substantial subframe. And again, the front link is a very large thing. I mean, it's impressive in and of itself. For a compact, this is a fairly standard type of rear compact suspension, but it just has an overall look of solidarity to it, like it's a sturdy little car, I'll put it that way. So it should hold up for many a mile, I would hope. Now, as we look forward, we can see here, look at there. that is some of your electrical wiring, the high voltage battery wiring. You can always tell because it's that bright orange color. That goes straight up in there, and that, of course, is where the battery actually is, which is, I believe, mounted under the front, the rear seat. Here is our fuel tank. You know, that keeps gasoline in it. And you can tell this wire from the high voltage battery goes all the way up towards the front there, because that's where it gets serious. That's where it plugs into the electric motor that augments the gasoline engine for your hybrid activity. And boy, the hybrid activity is positive on this vehicle, because as mentioned before, I've been getting over 50 miles per gallon with it, and that's not an easy driving either. That's a mix of driving, but it's also I've been semi-aggressive with some of my driving just because it's a nice smooth little powertrain overall. Hyundai has been very good at isolating a lot of the let's say the larger vibrations from an inline four-cylinder, because you just get them. Some vehicles, one I just drove, as a matter of fact, from a major manufacturer, has a turbocharged inline four-cylinder, and it's buzzy. It's not horrifically bad, but you can definitely feel it. And it's becoming the thing to have now, is these four-cylinder engines. But the thing is, in a hybrid application like this, and I believe this is an Atkinson cycle four-cylinder engine up there, it's very, very efficient in terms of fuel use, and it just performs nicely. So it's a good fit for this. And this engine, if I recall, is tiny. It's 1.6 liters. But as you can tell, there's no drive shaft, because there is nothing going on with these rear wheels. They're just along for the ride. There is no propulsion involved. I can't get over that big flat front link there. That's pretty interesting. Our brakes are over in here. And like I said, with all these links in position, it really does a good job at locating the rear tires, no matter what the terrain might be. It's a pretty good setup, and it can be fortified like in an SUV application to really handle a lot of weight too. So it doesn't have to do it in the case of this car. It's a light car, and it's a compact, but at the same time you get a lot of good features from it. For this price point, I think this is a bargain. It's got a lot of good stuff on it. It's even got one of these, this here. I have no idea what this is. I do not know what function it performs. It's a big piece of plastic with some ventilation, and I have no idea. There's no provision here, by the way, for a trailer hitch, because they do not recommend that you tow a trailer with this hybrid. Fair enough. And here's your mufflage, and we have instead of having two, I don't know why it's become so popular to take a transversely mounted rear muffler. A lot of cars have these now, and put one exhaust pipe here and another one on the other side. But Hyundai says cut the crap, and they just put one, because you don't need two. Two is more of a styling exercise. So again, maybe that's one of the many areas where they actually save some money for you, is by doing things in a very conventional manner, because it doesn't have to be done with the way other people are doing it. Incidentally, you can also see there is quite a bit of lower cladding on this. Where are you, device? Here you are. Lower cladding on this car, primarily for aerodynamic reasons, to keep the flow of air smooth underneath here. But it also, like I said, gives you a little bit of protection, especially from just run-of-the-mill things you might run into on your roadway, like a little tree branch, or a rock getting kicked up, or something like that. It actually helps protect the undercarriage. So that's all good. You got your aerodynamic flow, and you got your protection of the undercarriage, all in your Elantra limited rear suspension and the lower chassis. Well then, let's see about our Hyundai. This is the 2025 Elantra Hybrid Limited. It has a base price of $29,450, and with options and all that transportation stuff, it comes to $31,280. Not bad at all, especially when you consider during our tenure with this vehicle, we got a 50.7 miles per gallon. And that's not bad, folks. that can save you a lot of money and save the environment. So what do we think overall? Well, it's not the roomiest of all the compact types, but at the same time, it's roomy enough, and it's very well furnished, rides great, and I enjoyed driving it, even though it had a modest horsepower output. So go get one, and you guys take care till next time.
Do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube, you eat like the tube, you raise your children like the tube, you even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion.